My family's nanny's son, Jackson, used my family's resources to create the image of a rich and handsome guy. He lived off my parents' money but spread rumors that I was chasing after him and led others to bully me. I ended up being pushed into the water at a park by him, became brain dead, and turned into a vegetable. When my parents were investigating the culprit, they were framed for stealing confidential files from a rival company. The stock price plummeted, the company went bankrupt overnight, I had my life support unplugged, and my parents died in a car crash on their way to the hospital. When I opened my eyes again, I was back before it all happened. Jackson was flaunting a black card to the entire class, bragging about taking everyone to the Maldives for the weekend. As my classmates cheered with excitement, I sent a text to my dad to cancel the black card. Let's see how long he can keep up this act. Wow, Jackson is so rich and generous. Yeah, not only is Jackson good looking, but he's also a big spender. Amid the cheers, I opened my eyes. Jackson, holding his black card, stood tall, basking in the compliments. When his eyes met mine, he had a moment of guilt before casually asking, "Susan, are you coming?" Everyone turned their attention to me. "Oh, isn't that Jackson's hopeless admirer, Susan? What's she going for, to watch Jackson and Betty flaunt their relationship?" Everyone burst out laughing. The familiar scene was playing out again. I knew it wasn't an illusion. I had been reborn. Remembering Jackson's actions in my previous life, I was so angry that my whole body trembled, and my hands clenched into fists. Jackson intentionally spread rumors that I was obsessively chasing him, which made all the girls who liked him target and bully me. I put up with him because his mom once saved my mom and allowed him to use my family's resources to play the part of a rich kid. He wore limited edition brands, rode in luxury cars with me, and even used my dad's black card. But behind my back, he mocked me as the nanny's daughter and shamelessly hinted that I wanted to sleep with him. He, the nanny's son, became a sought-after, well-known figure, while I, the heiress, was his humble admirer. We were willing to repay Jackson's mom for her kindness, so I turned a blind eye to his antics, never imagining that this indulgence would lead him to want our lives in the end. This time, I won't let his outrageous behavior go unchecked. Amid the laughter, I calmly messaged my dad. "Dad, cancel the black card, I don't need it." Without the black card, let's see how he takes them to the Maldives. It's time to expose this fake facade. In 8th grade, when my mom fainted while out, it was Jackson's mom who found her and called 911. After my mom was discharged, she sought out her savior, and Jackson's mom, a street cleaner at the time, was invited to work at our home as a nanny. Jackson was brought from their hometown to study. Living at our house, my mom specifically told me to give way to him. Understanding gratitude, I let him enjoy the same treatment as me and indulged him in every way. But our indulgence turned him into an insatiable ingrate. He not only took my black card for free spending but also spread malicious rumors, belittling and humiliating me. This led to my being ostracized and bullied, while he basked in the glory of a rich kid with everyone's admiration and praise. I'd thought about explaining, but he reminded me that his mom saved mine, so I should be grateful and yield to him. Remembering my mom's words, I hid his true identity and focused solely on my studies. Who would have thought he'd secretly instruct the girls who admired him to bully me, including his girlfriend, Betty? Betty's dad was the principal, no one dared to stop her, and she'd often corner me in the bathroom with others, dunking my head in the toilet. She warned me to stay away from Jackson. My parents were often away for work, and not wanting them to worry, I kept this to myself. But my retreat only made Betty more aggressive, and once, on Jackson's orders, she dunked my head in the toilet until I suffocated and went limp. Due to the prolonged lack of oxygen, I ended up in a vegetative state, never waking up. When my parents went to the school to find out who was responsible, Jackson, fearing exposure, had his mom plant confidential documents from a rival company in my dad's office, framing him for plagiarism. They colluded with the rival company to leak the situation online, causing my dad's reputation to plummet and the company's stocks to fall rapidly. While the nurse was away, Jackson secretly unplugged my oxygen tube, and I died miserably on the bed. My parents were devastated, their hair turned white overnight, and they died in a car crash arranged by people Jackson paid to stop them from reaching the hospital in time. The driver fled, unapprehended, while Jackson took the money given by the rival company to study abroad, living a happy life with his mom. We died in misery, and the culprit who caused all this lived a good life. I'd never rest easy like that. Thankfully, fate gave me another chance by letting me be reborn. This time, I will make Jackson pay for every bit of blood and debt. My dad canceled the black card, but Jackson didn't know this. He collected all the students' identity information, booking tickets in front of them with a phone app. The classmates were extremely excited as this was their first time traveling abroad, and having someone book the tickets for them made Jackson almost their hero, loudly showering him in praise. I've never been out of the country, thank you, Jackson, for this chance to see the world. It's a blessing to be in the same class as Jackson. I'd want to be his classmate in my next life too. Yeah, Jackson is someone worth hanging around. He's rich, generous, and caring. I'm sticking with him from now on. Jackson, proud and head high, absorbed all the adoration, a smile he couldn't hide. Of course, stick with me, and I'll take care of you with the best food and drinks. The whole class erupted, pledging their loyalty. While working on my assignments and watching Jackson bask in his false sense of glory, I couldn't help but snicker. Soon he would be completely embarrassed in front of everyone once he found out he couldn't pay. One classmate noticed me and sneered sarcastically, "What are you laughing at? Are you jealous because you can't get Jackson's attention and now he's being nice to us? So there's this nanny's daughter who has the nerve to mooch off Jackson's luxury car every day. If it wasn't for Jackson being so nice, I would have kicked her out by now. I think we shouldn't book her ticket. No need to make her jealous of Betty and cause trouble, it'll just ruin everyone's mood. Yeah, someone like her, so ungrateful and pushy, doesn't deserve to go. Serves her right for being so clueless about the world." Jackson just waved his hand, not scared at all that I might expose his identity then and there. No worries, a plane ticket isn't a big deal. I've been to the Maldives so many times I'm sick of it, yet some people act like it's a big deal. Wonder who's really the one who's never seen the world. I twirled my pen, chuckling. Yeah, with Jackson's family being so rich, this little money is nothing to him. All right, go ahead, but don't make a fool of yourself not being able to pay. Jackson hadn't even said anything when the others jumped to his defense. What a joke. Jackson's so loaded, even the Rolls-Royce he drives to school is worth millions. And the Rolex on his wrist? It's gotta be at least $67,000. No way he can't afford a plane ticket. I guess she lost her mind after getting rejected by Jackson and started rambling nonsense. Everyone burst into laughter. Jackson, just make the payment in front of her and show her the real difference between a wealthy heir and a nanny's daughter. The others chimed in, yeah, make her so embarrassed she can't hide. Jackson was now at the peak of his popularity. But little did he know, the higher you go, the harder you fall. Wanting to embarrass me, Jackson projected his phone screen onto the wall with a smirk, flaunting his black card as he keyed in the info. Watch closely, I'm making the payment. Everyone held their breath, eyes glued to the screen, eager to see him flaunt his wealth and slap me in the face. I just smiled, staying calm. The classroom was eerily silent, you could hear a pin drop. In front of everyone, Jackson entered his password and hit pay. The payment page processed, but then it refreshed, showing a failed transaction message. Everyone was stunned, including Jackson. Not wanting to give in, he hit pay a few more times, but the outcome was the same. Why isn't it going through? Is he broke? Everyone shot Jackson strange looks. Jackson was flustered, realizing I must have meddled with his card. But with everyone watching, he couldn't outright accuse me and instead tried to play it cool. Oh, I forgot, I maxed out this card yesterday on a motorcycle purchase. I'll bring a new card tomorrow and book then. Hearing about the new motorcycle, everyone's eyes lit up with envy, instantly buying his story. Oh, that explains it. No way Jackson's out of cash. But I thought black cards had no limit. Just a sentence from me, and Jackson's composure cracked. He turned pale, shaking slightly. Right, black cards are limitless. Jackson had to know that, right? Could it be that his black card is fake? The room erupted into chaos. No way. I just ordered a swimsuit online for the Maldives trip, it's non-refundable. Yeah, I told my friends I'm going to the Maldives this weekend, don't embarrass me, okay? The students, like ants on a hot pan, started turning against Jackson, demanding answers. Jackson, you have to explain to us today, or this friendship's over. Yeah. Dozens of eyes stared him down, and Jackson was visibly shaken, lips quivering, sweating profusely, losing all his usual swagger. He stammered, unable to form a complete sentence beyond I. Suddenly, he just fainted, his eyes rolled back. I dropped my pen, sighing in boredom. What a bore. Jackson was faking it. Once taken to the nurse's office, he leapt up and hid in a bathroom to call me. Susan, you're too much. Why'd you freeze my black card and embarrass me in front of everyone? Don't forget, my mom saved your mom's life. Your family owes me. Restore the black card, or I'll tell the whole school how you ungrateful folks mistreat your savior. Unfazed by his angry rant, I hung up and blocked his number. After school, Betty cornered me at the classroom door. Yanking my hair, she glared, Susan, you bitch. Jackson is my boyfriend, and you're still clinging to him. When he refused your confession yesterday, you held a grudge and swapped his black card while cleaning to shame him. Jackson was kind not to call out your vile act on the spot, but I won't let you bully him anymore. Students leaving paused, giving me meaningful looks and whispering about me. So it was her doing, I knew Jackson couldn't be broke. Feeling a sharp tug on my scalp, I pulled out pepper spray and spritzed it on Betty's face. She screamed, releasing me. I smirked, well, that black card was actually. Before I could finish, Jackson showed up. He shielded Betty, speaking earnestly, I'm not mad about the black card. Don't take it out on Betty. His words cemented the rumor that I swapped the card, and classmates angrily accused me. Nobody talked to her from now on. Yeah, she doesn't deserve our friendship, being so petty and resentful. No one believed my truth. I was just a quiet study-focused person, unlike Jackson who spent my black card lavishly. Buying the class meals, bubble tea, amusement park trips, concert tickets, winning people over, and gaining followers. Jackson's wealthy reputation was built on that. He used my money while secretly having people bully me. Outside, the Rolls-Royce awaited by the curb to pick us up. I opened the car door, and Jackson slipped inside, face stern. People mistook it for me acting as his chauffeur. He rolled down the window, urging me, come on, get in already. Like a master ordering around a servant. Seeing her acting that way, a nanny's daughter daring to make Jackson wait, how audacious. Jackson, don't let her in the car. People like her should walk to school. Exactly, poor folks should suffer. They don't deserve the high life, and she'll just dirty the car. The classmates were ruthlessly mocking me. I smirked and commanded, get out of the car. I said it to Jackson, I didn't want to sit with trash. Jackson was taken aback, his face sour, whispering, Susan, you really want to burn this bridge? Aren't you afraid I'll tell others? I scoffed dismissively, shrugged, go ahead. Get out. Jackson's face changed. If he got out now, his rich kid facade would be exposed. He clenched his teeth, shouting at me with fake boldness, then walk yourself home. And then he ordered the driver, drive. But Miss hasn't gotten in yet, the driver hesitated. Do you want me to tell your boss you've been skimming off of 20 grand in gifts? The driver floored it, speeding off. The door swung back at me, nearly grazing me. I stood up, dirt covered, hearing laughter from behind. She was asking for it, right? Serves her right. Yeah, Jackson should show her a lesson. Let her know her place. I ignored them and called my dad. Betty strutted over, poking my chest, full of disdain. You think a toad like you can snag a rich guy? Look at you, dirt poor and uncouth. Jackson would never like you. The laughter around me grew. Was I supposed to bite back? I swatted her hand away, ignoring her. She went red with rage, ready to pounce on me. At that moment, a private jet descended onto the field, catching everyone's eye. A line of bodyguards alighted, all eyes on them as they approached me. They bowed and said, "Miss, we're here to take you home." How could this be? Everyone looked like they'd been struck by lightning, eyes wide, unable to believe. As they watched me board the plane, Betty snapped out of it, yelling, "Susan, you dare flaunt Jackson's black card and pretend to be rich? I'll tell him and you'll be toast." She thought I hired bodyguards in a jet with Jackson's card, eager to expose me. I waved, smiling. I'd love to see how a nanny's son makes me toast. On the plane, I called and told Dad all about Jackson's antics. To my bodyguard, I said, "You'll be my driver from now on. And Jackson's mom, treat her like a maid. No special treatment." Jackson's mom, though a maid, was treated like family because my mom owed her life to her. While my parents were away, she lived large, pampering her son and treating me poorly. Even the black card Dad gave me was taken by her while cleaning my room and passed to Jackson. Mother and son shopped extravagantly, never returning without spending hundreds of thousands, all charged to me. My parents, worried about me, never asked where the money went. It was squandered away, with Jackson flaunting his expensive threads and watches, aided by flashy cars and the black card. No one knew he was just a nanny's son. But it's okay, I'll expose his lies, one piece at a time. When I got home, Jackson was sipping bird's nest soup made by his mother, a daily delicacy never for me. He put the bowl down, explaining, "Don't blame me, you chose not to get in." I didn't respond, just walked over, picked up the soup, and smashed it at his feet. Crash. The bowl shattered, splattering soup on him. Jackson's mom hurried out, furious, pushing me, "What's your problem?" I spent 2 hours on that for Jackson. Decked in designer clothes, she wore makeup pricier than my mom's, each item costing more than $10,000. Living lavishly off my parents' hard-earned money, her audacity was infuriating. In the past, I heeded my mom's advice to take a step back. But it only emboldened them to be this brazen. With no tiger around, the monkey crowned himself king. But from now on, I'll be the ruler here. I ordered, "Bodyguards, move them to the maids' quarters. Retrieve everything that's not theirs." The bodyguards started searching their rooms. Jackson's mom's face fell, frantically blocking them, yelling at me, "Susan, what's this? Even your mom wouldn't dare, but you do." Jackson arrogantly added, "Your mom owes her life to my mom. Without us, she wouldn't be alive. You owe us." They knew this debt was leverage over me. After all these years of providing everything for you, we've long repaid this debt. A grace returned many times over, but it's not an endless claim. Seeing I was serious, Jackson's mom calmed down, nervously laughing, "It's just soup. I can make you some too. It's no big deal." I ignored her. "Start," I instructed. Bodyguards pushed past, entering the room. Jackson's mom screamed, unable to stop them. Jackson tried to fight, but was restrained. When the bodyguards came downstairs, they carried out armfuls of luxury products, all bought with my black card. I said to donate them to charity. "Susan, your mom wants you to be nice to me, yet you do this?" I'm telling her. Jackson, furious, tried dialing his phone. I looked at the phone that was the same brand as mine and my expression turned cold. This phone was worth 10 grand, a birthday gift from my mom when I turned 18. Jackson laid his eyes on it and bugged my mom relentlessly until she caved and bought one for him. I snatched his phone and ordered the bodyguard to strip them of their expensive clothes and make them wear the maids' outfits. If they resisted, they'd be tossed out. Jackson and his friend froze. They probably didn't expect this kind of attitude from me, since I'd always been the one to step back and compromise. It wasn't until the bodyguards stepped forward to remove their clothes that it really hit them. I was no longer the pushover they thought I was. Jackson's mom ended up in the maid's clothes while Jackson had to put on the gardener's outfit. The once arrogant Jackson hung his head low, gripping his clothes as if he'd rather crawl into a hole and disappear. Since moving into my house, he'd been living like some kind of rich kid. Over time, he really started to believe he belonged. But the embarrassment of today forced him to face his reality. He was just a maid's son. I sat on the couch, crossing my legs, looking indifferent. From today onwards, if Jackson wanted to keep staying at my place, he'd have to work as a gardener after school, taking care of the plants. "Susan, you're going too far," Jackson said, his face stormy and his teeth clenched. But with bodyguards around, he couldn't touch me. "Fine, then take the right turn out the door and go as far away as you can." Jackson almost lost it and came at me, but his mom held him back. I pointed at Jackson's mom and ordered, "You, go to the kitchen and cook me a bowl of bird's nest soup. 7 parts sugar. Not a grain more or I'm not drinking it." She was pissed but didn't dare show it, so she obediently went to make the soup. Jackson glared at me fiercely, his eyes bloodshot, but he swallowed his anger. "If you've got nothing to do, go weed the garden or you'll have no dinner tonight." Jackson looked like he wanted to skin me alive, yet he couldn't do anything. So frustrated, he stormed off. I laughed out loud. I loved seeing him get all worked up, knowing he couldn't do anything about it. It felt amazing. But it wasn't enough. In the past, they stabbed my family in the back and got us killed. This time, I'll make sure they go to hell, step by step. The next day, as the bodyguard was about to drive me to school, Jackson had the nerve to try and open the car door. Of course, I'd locked the doors. I rolled the window down a bit, squinting judgmentally. "I don't really like trash in my car." "Susan, you're going too far. I won't press charges for yesterday, but if you keep this up, I'll call your mom," Jackson shouted, trying to intimidate me using my mom. "Go ahead, make the call. Bodyguard, drive." The car started and blew a bunch of exhaust into his face. I heard him coughing and cursing behind us. "Susan, you'll regret this." Cough, cough. Jackson figured he'd be late, so he just skipped school and got on a bus heading the opposite direction. When the luxury car stopped at my school, Betty was already there waiting, obviously for Jackson. But seeing it was just me stepping out, her face twisted as she mocked, "Private jet yesterday, luxury car today. Aren't you worried Jackson will call the cops on you for maxing out his card?" "Worried? Nah, more like he should be. If he gets busted." Tossing back the retort, I walked past her into school. Her face twisted in anger as she stomped her foot. "Susan, you're just a maid's daughter, how dare you act like this? Wait till I marry into that family, the first thing I'll do is kick you out." I'd almost forgotten how Betty used to be infatuated with the school's golden boy, Henry, before falling for Jackson's charms and dumping Henry. Everyone knew she was just after Jackson's money, dreaming of becoming some trophy wife. I wonder how she'd feel if she knew Jackson wasn't a rich kid after all, just the maid's son she looks down on. When I walked into the classroom, everyone was eyeing me like a thief, probably worried I'd pull some stunt again like yesterday and ruin Jackson's ticket plans. I didn't care, just picked up a book to study. The students were buzzing with excitement about booking tickets soon, all hopeful and happy. But as class time neared, there was still no sign of Jackson. They started getting anxious, whispering among themselves. Think Jackson bailed because he couldn't pay up and just skipped school? Another classmate shot him a look. Jackson? Out of money? The dude spends over $300K a month. The guy in front of me slammed his fist on my desk, looking down on me. "Hey, aren't you the maid's kid from Jackson's house? Why isn't he at school today?" I glanced at him, unfazed. Maybe he actually ran out of cash. Just as everyone was about to get riled up, Betty burst in raging, pointing at me, accusing me of hiding the black card so Jackson couldn't find it. The class got rowdy, ready to come after me, but lucky for me, the bell rang, and the teacher walked in. After class, I stood at the podium, drumming my fingers with an almost villainous grin. If you're so curious why Jackson didn't show up, come find out for yourselves tonight at the villa. After school, back home, Jackson's mom, still in her maid's outfit, had the guts to shout at the bodyguard. "Listen, I'm the one who saved the madam. Even she takes my lead. Who do you think you are? Oh, not interested in your job, huh? Think you can defy my orders? Believe me, I'll have you out of here in no time." The bodyguard was there to keep an eye on them at my orders. I'd lived with them long enough to know what they were like. Without me, they'd cause trouble again. Who dares to kick him out? I walked over, eyes sharp. Jackson's mom shrank at the sight of me, losing all her bluster. Jackson clenched his fists, glaring with resentment. "Susan, I already told your mom. She'll come back soon, and let's see how you explain yourself to her." He was sure my mom would still protect them out of gratitude. "Oh, really? If you're feeling restless, why not skip dinner and go pull weeds in the yard?" I looked at his worn-out shirt and reminded him coldly to remember to wear the gardener outfit. After that, I headed to the kitchen. Outside, I heard Jackson's unwilling roar. "Why so anxious? The show has just begun. I've instructed the guard to let in my classmates straight away." A group of people was amazed by the luxurious villa with astonished exclamations. "Wow, Jackson's house is so lavish and rich. This villa must be worth billions, right?" "Yeah, I've only seen villas like this on TV. I had no idea there was such a big shot right around me. I feel pretty proud of myself. No wonder Susan, the daughter of a nanny, acts so arrogant. Living here, she must really think she's a rich young lady. Ha! Who dares say Jackson can't pay? Open your blind eyes and see, it's obviously Susan stirring up trouble." "Yeah, but what did she call us here to find out, anyway?" Talking among themselves, they walked into the yard, only to see Jackson in a gardener's outfit, squatting in the bushes, pulling weeds. Like a bolt from the blue, it stunned everyone. They stared wide-eyed, full of disbelief. Jackson noticed them, and his face turned white as a sheet. Sweat dripped down his forehead, and his shovel fell to the ground. He was so embarrassed he wished he could hide in the ground. I observed their reactions, and I couldn't have enjoyed their expressions more. "Welcome to my house," I said, wearing a pricey princess dress, surrounded by bodyguards and maids as I walked out. Betty was still shocked, mumbling, "What's going on here?" I smiled, walked over to Jackson, and introduced, "Let me introduce you to my gardener, the son of our nanny, and your classmate, Jackson." The crowd's minds buzzed, stunned by the revelation. Jackson is the nanny's son? Betty couldn't believe it. He spent so much money on her, no doubt real money. If he was really the nanny's son, how could he afford that? She suddenly laughed excitedly. "Jackson, did you have Susan call us for a role-playing game? How amusing. I want to play." Upon hearing her, the classmates realized they must be playing a role-playing game. Relieved, they all raised their hands, wanting to join in. Jackson became even more embarrassed, glaring fiercely at Betty. But she rushed toward me, trying to grab the crown from my head. Commanding arrogantly, "Give me the crown, I want to play the rich girl." In the next second, she was kicked to the ground by a bodyguard, silencing the previously noisy group, leaving them looking terrified. I sneered and turned to Jackson, "Why don't you tell her if it's a game?" Jackson's fists clenched tight, his whole body trembling as he couldn't nod in agreement. I pulled a black card from his pocket. He tried to stop me but eventually let go under my sharp gaze. "Do you all know the password for this black card?" 980506, my birthday. With undeniable evidence, Jackson couldn't argue or hide his true identity, the nanny's son. It felt like the world was collapsing for the classmates. Betty was the most emotional as her dream of marrying into a wealthy family was shattered. She screamed like a banshee and rushed forward, slapping Jackson. "You liar, I'm breaking up with you." Jackson's face was swollen from the slap, but he kept his head down, biting his lips silently. But Jackson's mom, seeing her son get hit, rushed forward angrily, pulling at Betty. "You dare hit my boy," she screeched. In her cheap nanny uniform and shrewish look, what else could she be but a nanny? The classmates watched with disgust, silently distancing themselves from him. Turns out he's really the nanny's son and had the nerve to pretend to be the rich kid to fool us. Damn liar, made us think we were going to the Maldives. Now I'm stuck with a new swimsuit and no trip. My friends will laugh at me for this. I've lost face. Nobody talk to the liar from now on. Jackson's fake persona could no longer be hidden. In an instant, he fell from grace, from paradise to hell. Falsehoods will always be exposed. No matter how he tries to cover up, lies can't be concealed forever. Jackson trembled with fury, his long-held anger bursting out at once. "Shut up. I never said I was a rich kid. It's your label that you forced onto me. When I treated you to food, drinks, and amusement parks, none of you acted all noble. So how can you accuse me now?" The whole class fell silent, faces turning awkward. He turned to Betty, coldly saying, "And you, weren't you with me because you thought I was a rich boy? So why the act now?" Betty was embarrassed and lowered her head. True, Jackson never verbally claimed to be a rich heir. But his behavior indeed flaunted that image. He deliberately didn't clarify and used me to elevate himself, making me isolated and bullied. Now, all of it was coming back at him. It felt truly satisfying. Jackson became silent and isolated, enduring what I used to. And those who once flattered him now turned to me with sweet talk. Such fickle people disgusted me. I clearly remembered how they treated me in the past. After hearing reports from the bodyguards, I learned that Jackson didn't go to school one day but took a bus in the opposite direction to a rival company. I knew his scheme was about to unfold. But I won't let the past tragedy repeat. This time, it's them who will go down. In the past life, the house surveillance was broken, and I thought it was useless and never fixed it. However, on the first day of being reborn, I secretly sent the surveillance for repair, without informing Jackson or his mom. So they're unaware that what they think is secretive, is actually under my control. In the kitchen, Jackson's mom was cooking bird's nest soup. She spat in it and cursed me unwillingly. "Susan, that bitch, I don't know what's wrong with her lately, daring to ride over us. I just can't take this miserable life anymore." Jackson, who was picking vegetables nearby, clenched them into a ball with a fierce glint in his eyes. "No way," he muttered, "I am destined to be wealthy and powerful. I'm not going to spend my life as a servant. I'm not letting Susan get away with this," he added. "And as for the Susan family, they need to disappear from this world too." Jackson's mom's eyes lit up. She turned off the stove and leaned closer, sneaking a glance at the door before whispering, "Do you have a plan to take them down?" Jackson whispered back conspiratorially, "Of course, I do. I found the secret weapon to bankrupt Susan's family." His eyes glowed with malicious excitement, as if his fantasies had already become reality. The day before college entrance exams, my parents came back. I had called them because Jackson planned to execute his scheme after the exams. In the past, he had manipulated online rumors, tarnishing my mom, and planted confidential files in my dad's office. The evidence was found, and my dad couldn't talk his way out. Stocks plummeted, the company went bankrupt overnight, and our family met a tragic fate. Given a second chance, I figured we ought to act ahead of time and bring down this pair of wolves. The 3-day entrance exams went fine for me, but it seemed Jackson was struggling. After the last exam, neither he nor his mom returned to the villa. Online whispers emerged, accusing my mom of being ungrateful and abusive, with our company's name dragged into the scandal. They were stirring up personal grudges to affect the company. Jackson stormed into our home with rival company representatives and reporters, claiming to find confidential documents in the office. The police were called, and my dad was taken in for questioning. Before leaving, Jackson smugly flipped me off and mouthed, "Go to hell, Susan." Watching him leave, my mom and I exchanged a knowing smile. We were thrilled. I lazily leaned against the gazebo, tossing a grape in my mouth, and asked my mom, who was eating watermelon, "Mom, do you think Jackson will blow a fuse when he sees what's actually inside those so-called confidential documents?" She thought for a moment, her eyes crinkling with a smile. "Oh, for sure. Especially since they're full of his dirty secrets. The surveillance footage will reveal his true colors." Jackson and his mom took $1 million from the rival company and dashed to the airport. My mom and I, along with some bodyguards, were already waiting there. Seeing us, Jackson dropped the pretense. Outright laughing, he said, "Susan, your dad's already in custody. Aren't you going to try and get him out instead of blocking us here?" "Oh, it's useless," he continued. "He's accused of stealing confidential documents. It's a serious crime. Your family's about to go bankrupt. You're no longer the high and mighty heiress, but simply a pathetic stray." Bitterness twisted his face, and he snarled through gritted teeth, "A stray dog." But his laughs abruptly stopped when he glanced at the giant screen in the waiting lounge. It was broadcasting an interview with my dad, dressed sharply in a suit, discussing the company's new product line, not at all someone who had just been arrested. Online perceptions of my mom had flipped too. She was now seen as grateful, while Jackson and his mom were exposed as opportunistic backstabbers, having squandered our money, occupied our house, and bullied me. The accusations against my dad? A complete misunderstanding. The police confirmed there were no confidential files, just a diary, a detailed account of the owner's misdeeds, including card theft and bullying. And the owner of that diary? Jackson. "No, it can't be, this can't be happening." Jackson grabbed his hair, shouting in disbelief. His mom, realizing they were done for, tried to take the fall. "I planted the documents. It's got nothing to do with Jackson." I blinked a few times, smiling innocently. "Is that so?" "Because the surveillance not only caught you planting those documents but also captured your entire plot in the kitchen," I said. Jackson's mom went pale, knees buckling, and collapsed in front of my mom. Holding on to her clothes, she begged desperately. "Please, madam, spare Jackson. He just finished his entrance exams. He could get into Cambridge. Don't let his life be ruined." My mom shook her hand off, expressionless. "You're wrong. His life wasn't ruined by me, it was ruined by your indulgence and his own greed. He needs to face the consequences of his actions." The police arrived. I handed over all evidence of Jackson and his mom's crimes. They'd face justice soon enough. When the entrance exam results came back, I ranked in the top 50 provincially. Getting into Cambridge was a given. Jackson barely scraped through to a second-tier college. He was once brilliant when he first came to our home, but chasing a grand lifestyle made him forget what truly matters. Money and status from others are temporary, only hard work can lead us to the top. But now, it's too late. His life is his own undoing. The rival company charged Jackson with fraud, demanding their $1 million back since his framing plot failed. Since he swindled over $1 million, he faced serious jail time, often getting 10 years or more. Jackson was sentenced to 15 years, his mom 10. But he managed to escape, faking illness and fleeing during a prison transport. There was a citywide manhunt. Our family was driving to the Maldives when we heard the news. Even with the bright sun outside, a shiver ran down my spine. I looked at my phone's clock. It was the anniversary of our family's deaths from the previous life. I felt a chill and looked urgently out the window. The familiar streets sped by. Up ahead was the intersection where the accident happened last time. "Stop the car," I shouted. The car screeched to a halt, and at the same moment, another car came speeding towards us. After a loud crash, it felt like the entire world went silent. Everything spun around, and I collapsed into my mom's arms, feeling like I had stepped into the jaws of death. "It's okay now, Susan, don't be scared, my mom said, trying hard to suppress her panic to comfort me. We're not dead. I looked up in a daze and saw, not far away, a car crashed into a lamppost, engulfed in flames. Me and my parents only had minor injuries. I shakily got out of the car and overheard passers-by talking, finally piecing it together. Apparently, a car went out of control and scraped by the front of our car at high speed, spinning our vehicle in circles before stopping. Someone said, luckily, my dad braked in time. Otherwise, we would have been hit head-on and crushed inside. My dad looked at me, still shaken. Because it was my sharp scream to stop that saved our lives. Seriously, that was close. I touched my forehead, feeling beads of sweat. After cleaning up our wounds a bit, we boarded a flight to the Maldives. It wasn't until we landed in the foreign country that I saw the news. Criminal Jackson, driving a car while escaping, lost control and crashed into a lamppost, ending his life in the blazing fire. But I knew things weren't just a coincidence. Jackson's goal in escaping was definitely aimed at us. Lucky for us, memories from a past life helped us dodge that bullet. Not long after, Jackson's mom, upon hearing of his tragic end, couldn't take the shock and soon passed away due to depression. With that chapter closed, the vendetta from a past life was finally settled. I exhaled deeply, letting go of the burden of hate, feeling a sense of freedom. I've always believed karma might be delayed, but it never fails to show up. I walked barefoot on the soft sands of the Maldives, the sunshine warming my shoulders, and the gentle sea breeze lifted the hem of my skirt. This place is truly beautiful, no wonder Jackson always wanted to come. I remember when he first came to my house, he was amazed at the beauty of the Maldives in my pictures, a look of yearning in his shy eyes. I said, someday, if there's a chance, I'll take you with me. But over time, he wanted to get rid of me and go himself. Too bad, he'll never get the chance now. The horn sounded, and I boarded the boat heading out to sea, steering towards a broader and brighter future.